So yesterday I had a. You can refer to our karaoke song yesterday. So yesterday I was working on a translation test, actually. That I was really surprised that the test also included 9 different glossaries or term bases. Some of them were more term bases, really, because they included like descriptions. And 2 reference videos, like long videos.
But sorry, but translation test for what? It's too much.
I cannot say because of NDA reasons.
But of course, but that was for a client, for a new client.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yes, so it's to win a project, which I understand it could be like a big endeavor, but just the fact I was like really turned off by the fact that they had like the term base, like so many different term bases, and they did not integrate it in any tool. So they were, just like
huge. So that's red flag.
That's the first thing we had to do. Like, okay, let's organize this content and integrate the term bases to the CAD tool, because all of that was super important. Because otherwise, how can you like manually check this terminology in 9 different files?
Psychotic.
That's insane.
No.
And these are long term bases, not just like a couple of terms. So so it just like it did and it just made me think about how do you deal like with when they send you, it doesn't have to be a translation test, it could be any project, when they send you like a ton of reference material that is needed to translate the text, but sometimes the text is only like 2 paragraphs, right?
Yes.
But you need to watch these videos and read this reference and like use this glossary. So it's it just takes so much of your time to do it correctly and to do it right. And I think it would be fair in those situations, like to ask the client just how much time it will take to review that material and just charge it separately. Not all clients would agree or understand that, but I think that makes complete
or charge by the hour. Yeah, that's what happens to me almost every day.
What?
Not 9 term bases. No, not that huge. Yeah. But sometimes for a tiny task, I have to check like, I don't know, 3 Google Sheets, 3 different Google Sheets. And if I have the translation memory, but that's not very trusted, so you better go and check the other. It's insane. It's because a lot. You have the PM says, I don't know, we have this 5 words task. It's not 5 words, No. They are not paying by word, they are paying by the hour. That's okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but the video is not available, but the text you have to translate is inside a video, so you need to watch the video because it's part of the translation material, and it's very difficult for the client to understand that. It depends on the type of client and how much they know about translation or about localization. Like for the type of work that I do, that's multimedia and video game related, you do have to watch videos and sometimes play the game, and all of that takes a lot of time. I remember a case, a very particular case. I don't know, I haven't been working with these people much at that time, and it was only one phrase, right, to translate. So I had access, it was for a movie. I had access to the movie in English, of course. There wasn't subtitles or anything, but I haven't enough time, to watch a full movie. So that's not the idea for the translation, right?
Right.
So they should have sent me the trailer. It was about
But I couldn't see that. I couldn't watch the trailer. I asked for the trailer. The trailer was still unavailable. I asked again, was still unavailable. So I couldn't watch it. Oh. And the person who was going to edit says, no, you cannot do the job because you have to watch the trailer.
Yeah.
And when I watched the trailer, the phrase was part of some kind of protest. You see? So
you needed the context.
Exactly. The context changed that phrase in so many ways because the same phrase was repeated along a 1 minute trailer.
Again, I mean, context is everything when you're
the video becomes part of the source material. So you cannot work without that. And if you have term bases, you cannot go to 9 places to look for
it needs to be integrated. It's like insane otherwise.
And how did you do that? Could you?
Yeah. We ended up integrating them into a CAD tool. And we were able to work using that, but
do you think they did it on purpose for you?
No.
to see if you could integrate it, to see if you have the skill?
I just think it shows that perhaps the client's not it's not there yet in terms of technology integration with their localization needs. Anyways, but yeah. But you reminded me of a project I received once from a client that we signed a contract with. And we received our first project and we were so excited. And it was 3 words. And so we opened the project and
I'm very excited for 3 words.
You know what the 3 words were?
Please tell me.
Made in China.
Ay, ¿para cómo lo ponemos?
It's so funny. Like the first project we received, and it's like totally random. Made in China.
The whole team gathered to open the first file.
Yes, we were so excited. Like, oh.
Come on.
Oh,
that's so fun.
But anyways, we should mention that we're doing the intro in English because our guest today is Martina Russo, and we did the interview in English, so it makes sense for us to do the intro in English too. So that's why.
Yes, I have already said some things in Spanish, but it's okay. You know me. The rest is in English. Okay, so this interview is amazing. I loved it. I really loved it.
And I think you will learn a lot, and also you will be inspired by Martina. So we're very excited to share the interview with you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Let's go.
Yeah. Today, we have the honor of interviewing Martina Russo. She is an Italian marketing translation specialist with over a decade in the business, now CEO of 2 translation agencies serving 2 widely different niches, one that specializes in SEO content and product localization for software as a service, and one that works exclusively with action sports brands. In her spare time, you'll most likely find her rock climbing, snowboarding, or rescuing cats. I love it. Martina, welcome to En Pantuflas.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us. And I want to tell our podcast listeners that today we are triangling Buenos Aires, as usual, Wisconsin, and Greece, because Martina is in a ski resort. So great for the interview, right? We are going to talk about this. So it's true.
Yes. And I wonder how many of the people listening to this actually knew that you can ski in Greece, because I didn't know that until a couple of years ago.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
That's not something from Greece that we usually see, you see? We usually, I'm mixing Spanish already. Okay. Because we usually see Greece, the beaches, I don't know, the summer,
islands.
Right? Yes, exactly.
I think when people think about Greece, all they think is the beaches, the islands, summer, and then ancient, ruins and historical sites. But then also there is actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's 78% or more of the country is made of mountains. So there's actually something like 15 ski resorts. They're very small, but
wow,
pretty.
Wow, that's a lot.
Wow.
And how did you end up there? It's just for holidays, or are you working for some people there, or what? Because it's all.
It's a long story, but I'll make it short.
Okay. No problem.
It's a very long story. No, basically, so so you mentioned earlier that I've been working in translation for over a decade, and pretty much from the beginning or from the very first couple of years, I have been living anywhere from Southeast Asia, South America, like all over the place. And a few years ago, I took up rock climbing. Basically, we're always chasing the best season to rock climb, snowboard, kite surf, and so and Greece is like a hotspot for rock climbing, and so we're just spending here winter. And we usually go around with this like tiny house on wheels type of thing, with our cats, dog, and so we ended up here in Greece just like for winter.
That sounds so amazing. It's like, we all translators are, well, most are here, in our chairs, looking at our computers.
And sometimes looking out of the window. But that's it.
Sometimes. Looking at pictures of Greece, looking at pictures of
can be quite crazy. Like sometimes I take, of course, like I'm working full time, sometimes even over full time. But I always try to like balance it out with taking a few hours every day to just go and do some sports. Hanging off like 30 meters off the ground off a cliff. And so sometimes I take my laptop with me because, I'm still like having to manage stuff. And so sometimes I'm like, I don't know, 30, 40, 100 meters off the ground, not like actually attached, to the wall, but like, we hiked for 1 hour and then like, I'm there like with my laptop checking
Oh my God.
But like today I was, I had my laptop and I took a break from snowboarding and I did my emails, I managed some projects, but it's a small price that I'm happy to pay for my freedom. So I'm happy with that.
Yes, sure. Of course. No, that sounds amazing. Really. That's great. So that leads us to our first question, about your job, what you're doing. And it's when did you realize you could combine your passion for sports and your professional translation skills or your profession?
Very good question. So as you mentioned earlier, I do these two, I work in these two very different niches and industries. And I've been working basically marketing since I started. And then I started working with localization for software companies. And then 3 years ago, I went online and I was trying to buy a pair of climbing shoes. And I think I was redirected onto the Italian website of one of the major climbing brands. And I was like, the translations are awful. Like, how is that possible? And so I did a bit of research and they're all terrible. And so I thought maybe there is a market there. Maybe I can I can help them. Because clearly whoever is doing these at scale throughout the whole outdoor industry is doing a terrible job.
Yes, these people need help. Yeah,
exactly. And you know what, like, it's not just the marketing side of things. It's also when you have like these life-saving devices, where you're climbing or whatever sport you're doing, because, it's adrenaline, extreme adventure sports. If the translations for the instructions are wrong, people can potentially risk their lives. And
of course.
So I thought, I don't really want this to happen to myself, to my community. And so I thought maybe I can do something about it.
Oh, that's very noble. That's so nice. And what type of content do you usually work with for sports related companies? Is it mostly website and ad type of like marketing content, or what other stuff do you translate?
So it's mostly marketing, and especially product descriptions. It's like we work with some of the world's biggest outdoor brands. So you probably have heard of them, even though you don't practice outdoor sports. So it's a lot of just product descriptions, marketing materials for the website, ad campaigns, paid campaigns. And then we also have a few clients who have apps, applications and web apps. And so that's also like a completely different type of projects, but it's very, like, it's awesome. It's very rewarding, but it's also much more complex.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we work in a variety of languages across a variety of regions, from Norway to Spain to Korea to Japan. Like, it's crazy.
And it's really cool. and I think that there must be a wide variety of subjects, because it depends on which country it comes from or which region which sports are practiced there. So that must be fascinating for you who like it.
Yes, exactly. I'm always like so excited when I see an email coming from, first of all, when I see these emails coming from people who are looking for this service, and I'm like, like they come to me and they're very surprised that we're so specialized, because there is, the reason why actually 99% of my clients have come to me because they were not happy with the translations provided by the more generalist translation providers before. And literally our USP is we understand your core customers, because we are them on top of being translator professionals, of course. And so that's really cool. It really excites me when they actually find us. And then also when after a few weeks or months or whatever, they actually come and give us all the feedback, and that they're really happy with what they got. And yeah, that's really cool. And also it's very, very hard to hire freelance translators for this, because the pool to start from is not big to start with.
I was thinking about that, because I don't know if it's easy for you to find collaborators in these subjects, or if you have to train someone who's willing to. I don't know.
Yeah, it's it's very sometimes frustrating and complicated. I have a very, very good core team that spans across a bunch of like our core languages, which the main European languages. Then we have Poland, Korea, Japan. We have like a very good core team of a lot of these languages, but then the hiring takes weeks and months, and it's like very, very tiring. Because there are just not many people. And actually, I think since I started looking, like recruiting, so to speak, for the freelance translators, I think a few more have popped up who have realized, oh, I can actually do this. I can actually combine this passion with my profession. So I think now a few more have that in their tagline or in their profile. So it's getting a little bit easier, I guess, but it's still hard.
Well, that's a very good idea for anyone who's listening, and is interested to reach out, like to say, I'm interested, or begin to specialize and know that there is a market for this, because maybe there's someone else down there.
I was trying to think if I know of any other translators that do these type of like sports. I think you're the only one I know, Martina, but if I ever meet anyone else, I'll send them your way, of course.
And you know what's the crazy thing
is that specific.
It's very specific. And for example, we don't do any mainstream sports like football, rugby. I am not interested in doing that type of projects because, I don't know. I'm the person. I'm the face of the business. I am the person selling and also like having this relationship with our clients. And there would be a huge disconnect between me and a football brand. And so I'm really happy with that. With that. And I was gonna say something else, but I forgot. So
no problem. Okay, talking about the kind of clients you like or you want. How is working with these types of clients, or what kinds of clients do you have? Like big, small, I don't know.
The vast,
whatever.
The vast majority are big brands, because ever since, well, even like in both of our niches, I've always wanted to work with clients who really understand that localization is an investment and they have the budget and they want to spend the budget to get like a really good return on investment, and actually don't have all those pitfalls that they had previously with other translation agencies. And typically those clients are bigger brands in this industry, at least. And so so it's typically big brands who need anywhere from 4 to 6 to maybe 10 languages per season. There's a lot of seasonal content, 2 seasons per year, because we have, no, actually more, but the 2 main seasons, I guess, per year are winter and spring, summer. So it's like the 2 main. There is a lot of that. And then we also have the app clients. They have continuous localization requirements because, of course, they keep so it's 2 very different
updates.
It's 2 very different models, I guess. And we also have 2 smaller clients, but they're also on board with this type of like mindset, I guess. So so
I like the distinction that you make about it being like a big brand or not, but really knowledgeable about localization, which is not always the case with end clients. And you find a lot of misinformation about what localization really is, and that it is an investment and not just an expense, and that not anyone can do it right. So yeah, I really like that distinction that you made, because sometimes for translators can be hard to work with the direct clients who are not, matured enough in the localizations space.
I think some of these clients, some of these companies are not, I mean, I know that they are not very mature in when it comes to localization. If I compare my software company clients with my outdoor sports clients, it's a very different scenario. But what is important for me is that they are open to that, to have like a relationship of partnership where we are the expert. And I don't really like the word educating, because I feel like it always comes from a place of superiority, and it's used a lot in the translation industry. But I like the fact that, they come to us and they know that we are the experts, and that if we need to, handhold them sometimes, that they will trust what we say. And it's not always smooth sailing, but it's just starting from that ground, then you can build on, rather than,
Yeah, that's very nice what you're saying, really. From the point of view, because I think the client thanks that kind of, let's say, collaboration, right? So nice. I wanted to ask you, you told us that you usually work with several languages and different seasons, right? Regarding these types of clients. And do you have any anecdotes, for example, that has to do with cultural issues, or I don't know, differences between one language and another, or something difficult to solve? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main differences that we are encountering on this like ongoing localization project with this one app specifically, one outdoor brand that's got this app, and because we are localizing in Brazilian Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese and Portuguese, there is already some massive differences there.
Wow,
just in the way that everything is worded, but then we also have Polish, and then we also have Korean and Japanese on this one project that is running right now. And then next year we're going to do Russian and Czech and I don't know what else. And just the fact that, so before these clients came to us, they already were localizing into 5 languages. But I think they hadn't encountered, with Polish, for example, we have all these pluralization issues that have to be, they hadn't really thought that could happen. And so one thing that could be said easily in English or in Romance languages, then we have to rewrite completely the code. So to make it appealing for the local culture.
For Polish.
Yeah, and in Korea as well, like when you have the variables and all that stuff, basically we have to get the developers to rewrite some of the code to be able to get that. Otherwise, especially, if you have ever been on a, I don't know, like Japanese website, for example, or a Chinese website, it looks completely different from what we are used to in Western cultures and countries. And so, for example, the Japanese market is very saturated with all sorts of apps and this and that. And so our translator was amazing. She was like, you really need to get some of this stuff said in a very different way, because otherwise this app is never going to take off. So I think that's the biggest thing that I can think of when it comes to really massive differences in localizing a product for this type of brand. Otherwise, I can't really think of a major, I don't know, like translation pitfall right now. I'm sure there have been. I can't really. I mean, I guess the main localization translation pitfalls that I can think of are the ones that we find on their websites before they start working with us.
Yeah.
But it's like
the ones that pushed you to do this.
Yes.
Google Translate. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you have any advice for translators looking to work in, for example, marketing translations, which can also be quite specific, and like not all translators like that creative side of the market, the marketing translation requires?
Yes. Okay. So that's an interesting question. First of all, I think for me specifically, because I've been a freelancer for a long time, and even now I still do translations here and there. And for me, when I started out, I was like, oh, I specialize in marketing translation, but marketing translation is not really a specialization. It's more like, it is some, you do marketing translation, but like for whom, you could be doing marketing
for what industry? Yeah.
There's so many. So I think for me, what's really made the difference, and I know that the same for many colleagues, is actually find not necessarily like a micro niche like action sports like ours, but maybe marketing translation for whatever the software industry or the
industry.
For example, in my case, it's very specific software as a company, and in marketing technology, it doesn't have to be that niche. But to me, like what I've seen over and over and over again is to actually try to focus on maybe a few industries rather than cast the net, as wide as possible.
Yeah, too wide a net. Yeah.
And then I mean, that is a very wide, I guess, topic. But I think one thing which is really important, I would say, to learn a lot, like put a lot of effort into actually learning how to write in your native language, copywriting courses in your Latin language, rather than just focusing on translation. Because I review many translations that we do for our clients when it's Italian, because I'm very picky. I have extremely high standards, and I'm like, I need to check everything. So, and one of the biggest mistakes that I see juniors, but also more experienced translators in marketing, is that they really focus on making the text accurate to the source, and then the result is quite chunky and it doesn't flow very
bland.
Well. Yeah. And so I think more experienced marketing translators would look at the source, like focus more, like once you know that it's all accurate and the main parts of that text and the elements and the emotions and whatever you need to get across has been kept, then actually focus on how does this sound? Does this copy have good rhythm? And does the punctuation really support the message that like the very small details
to get the vibe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
is it persuasive enough? Is it punchy enough?
Yes, exactly. Of course you can always there's many words for the same concept, but am I choosing really the correct, like the best word for this context? Does it flow well with the rest of the copy? That kind of stuff. So for me, it's sweating the small details without losing sight of the big picture. In the text, target text.
That's very interesting what you say, because that's it. You need to reinforce your use of your own language and understand who you're talking to.
Marketing, the target market.
Yes, and also marketing is a very wide discipline. There are different types of things to do within marketing. It's not all selling. That is also, I don't know, analyzing the market, for example. So as you say, if you say I translate marketing, but what, for whom?
Exactly. And I think one thing also that is important for me is like the output must be creative, but the thinking behind it must be strategic. So it's creative, but it's not like left to chance. It's not like, oh yeah, let me just jot some stuff. I'm being creative. You have to be really strategic behind about how you're putting it together. So I think that's
exactly.
That's
a very good advice, Martina. Thank you. And I wanted to ask you about an organization you collaborate with called Protect Our Winters. If you want to tell us what is it about, what they do, what do you do in there?
Yes. So it's actually a very good question because because I've been skiing since I was, a kid, and spending many winters and summers in the Alps, and then I've seen, of course, the effects of climate change on my own mountains, and it's very scary what's happening. And it's not just the mountains, it's like globally. And what happened actually was that I went to this trade show. So when I decided that I was going to specialize in action sports and then put together a team, I still only had my website for marketing translations. And basically I found out that there was this like trade show for outdoor brands, and I decided to go, but I didn't have a website for myself. So I thought, okay, I'm going to put this website together very quickly in a week, and then I'm going to just go to the trade show. And so I went without a plan, basically. And I wanted to get some clients there. And then I actually saw a talk on this leaflet. It was about Protect Our Winters. I think it was a Europe organization, and they were going to talk about, and actually one of the reasons why I was interested is because I saw the founders of some of like the outdoor brands that I wanted to work with, that they were presenting there. And I was like, oh, let me have a look. So I went, and then actually I listened to the whole talk, and I was like, oh, that is awesome. Like, this organization is protecting our winters. So it's something that I really am interested in. And I went and I spoke to them after a presentation, and I said, can I help in any way? I love the mountains, I love winters, I love the planet, and I want to help if I can in any way. These are my skill sets. And then what happened was that one of them actually did need translations into Italian. Wow. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I started collaborating with Protect Our Winter Switzerland, which of course needed Italian translations. And so I became their kind of localization manager and also like helping with the Italian translations. Then I helped with the Protect Our Winters Austria chapter. And then I co-founded Protect Our Winters Italy. With a whole different bunch of people. And basically now what I do, because I'm always abroad, so I'm never in Italy, so I can't really help on the ground. But what I do, I am their localization, coordinator, manager, and so I help with everything that revolves around localizing any campaigns, because it's a very international organization, and the source content a lot of the time comes from the European organization. Then we need that stuff, translate into Italian, and so I help with that.
Wow. How nice to be able to work with an organization that you're really inspired. That's really nice.
That's amazing.
What a nice story too, that you went to the trade show and you thought like, way to go.
Yes, exactly. And when do you sleep? I'm just thinking, right? Because between the climbing and all the job, the work you do, Martina,
and the cats
please.
And the dog, that is a big
the
part.
Cats and the dog and the house with wheels and all. Well, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't sleep much, to be fair, but I have historically not needed a lot of sleep. I don't like recommend doing what I'm doing. It's not necessarily like a healthy idea, but I don't. The thing is, I go from 0 to 100, and it's like very hard to stop when I'm really excited about something. And then occasionally I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. I think I might be burning out soon. Maybe I should hit the brakes now. Then I can take it slow for maybe a month, and then boom, and then I start again.
Again, okay. Well, you recharge. So at some point you recharge and you go on. That's great.
That I'm actually a fake extrovert, meaning that if I'm talking with you now and I'm really enjoying it, and if you drop me in any social situation, I'm super sociable. But at the end of the day, I need to be by myself. And like,
you're exhausted.
Yeah. I guess that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy being in these really remote areas. I literally don't see people except for my partner and like other people that I do sports with occasionally.
Yeah.
So
you can recharge.
You need your time alone, of course. Yes.
Well, Martina, you're very active on LinkedIn too. So I wanted to ask you, how do you find the time and the inspiration to do it? And what do you find rewarding also of that involvement in the LinkedIn platform?
That's another interesting question with another interesting story behind it. So when I started using LinkedIn with purpose, it was, I think, 2018. I had just learned that LinkedIn, it was just starting to change. And I was like, this is amazing. You know, we can actually do so much in LinkedIn. And there were no, I mean, in my experience, I didn't really see many translators on LinkedIn being active or posting stuff. So I started being active. I was actually active every day at the beginning until I burnt out with LinkedIn. And I was like, okay, that's a lot, a bit too much. But I was figuring out what to do with it. And then actually, you know, I built momentum with it, which is still like yielding results today, which is good. Then I started doing talks to other translators on LinkedIn. And then a lot of, I feel like now the whole community of translators is on LinkedIn, which is really nice to see how it's evolved. And what it's done is that I found some of my all my clients are awesome, but like some of my, at the time, most awesome clients that like, because I was starting to specialize in software as a service companies, in that like marketing automation, marketing technology, sub niche. And so I started like having these relationships online with these people, and that brought, you know, I guess inbound marketing without really feeling like I was marketing. It was like, okay, you know, I'm building this relationship with these people, reaching out, or maybe they're reaching out to me. And that's how I got, and I still have some of like these clients today, which is really cool.
Very nice.
Cool.
That's awesome.
And very, very good information for many listeners that are still trying, you know, or thinking how to make the most of LinkedIn. And yes, we have the same feeling that from some time on, the LinkedIn is full of translators now, or more at least, right?
Yes. And
which
I
is great.
think sometimes it's a bit counterproductive, because I feel like I am on LinkedIn to connect with, you know, not necessarily with colleagues, because I already am in 1,000 Facebook groups. I mean, the amount of Facebook groups for translators created by translators is ridiculous, and I am in many of them. So I'm you know, I'm but like on LinkedIn, at least I enjoy talking to people, you know, I don't know, like clients or just people from a different type of, I don't know, within still like my industries and niches, because it's still something that I want to be interested in and be able to contribute or like learn. But I don't feel the need of just being in the community of translators all the time. So I think,
of course,
right.
I think a lot of translators do that, and I would recommend to anyone listening to this to try and like branch out and just connect, rather than connecting with translators. Just try and connect with people that maybe you would like to work with, or just people that you, I don't know, find interesting in different,
inspiring.
That's great advice, actually.
Exactly. So Martina, you know that in our podcast, every season, it's our 4th season, this one. Every season, every interview, let me correct myself, ends with a special question. This is the final special question.
Oh God.
Yes.
No pressure.
No pressure. You do rock climbing and all sort of stuff, so you're going to, you know, you're going to answer this question with confidence, I'm sure. But since it's very nostalgic and invites to reflection, I'm going to ask Marina to do the question. So
what an honor.
Prepare yourself, please.
Okay. I'm bracing myself.
Martina, the question goes, the professional path has many different moments, but there's always one that could be described as a crisis or as a crossroads that you need to overcome, and that usually after you go through it, you learn something from. What was that moment for you, and what did you learn?
I mean, what moments you mean? Because I feel like
sometimes there are more than one.
I feel like there is, just like in life, there is a lot of highs and then there is a lot of downs as well. So I feel like I'm going to give you a couple of moments because I think they were equally important. And also because I think especially if someone was listening to this and maybe they're at the beginning of their career and they just, I don't know, I think it's important to hear. So I think the first time was when I decided to just sustain myself on translation only. And I was a bit, I guess, reckless. I flew all the way to the other side of the world. And so no one could, I couldn't lean back on anyone. I either had to make it work or starve. So I think that really gave me a lot of resilience and just taught me that whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. And even if it seems a bit hopeless at the time. And that's the same thing that happened again once that's, I guess, kind of the same period when I moved abroad to complete my studies because I couldn't sustain myself in Italy. That was before I went full time, I think. And so I moved abroad to Switzerland. I had a terrible time because I was just like very unlucky. And I was very close to giving up many times. I was borderline depressed at some point because there was just everything was going wrong. I was robbed in Zurich. Imagine.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
I felt sick, all this stuff. And I could have very easily given up. And instead I kept just fighting through it because I really wanted to get to the end of what I set myself to, and I did. And if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be where I am now. So just, building resilience I think is a very good skill to have, which doesn't come easily, but it's a very good skill to have in the future as well. And
yes, that's very good advice. Yes.
Yeah. And what else? Then also, I guess also be prepared for a rainy day. There was a point in my life where we had a tragedy in my family, and of course I wasn't prepared for it, and that sent me in a mental state where I wasn't able to work for like 6 months, and of course that took a toll on me, also on my finances. And so from that moment onwards, thankfully I recovered. That was already a few years ago. So that's another thing where I learned to, especially if you're like me, a bit reckless, and just make sure that you are like just prepared for a rainy day, which I know that it's easier said than done, especially if at the beginning. But And what else? I think that's the main thing. And then the other thing that's I've been through now is when going from freelancer to CEO of the company now. I feel like I feel like I've gone from being, I've been recognized as whatever, the influencer. So I feel like after 10, 12 years in business, I know what I'm doing, but now I feel like I am at the beginning of the journey again. And for like, in these new shoes, I guess. And so
in this new role,
role. Now I'm like at the bottom of the chain. So to speak, of course. And because what it means is that I have a lot of things to learn that I'm learning going forward, and I feel a little bit like a beginner again, and that threw me off a little bit for like a month or two. I was trying to find my feet again, and at the time I was feeling a little bit like imposter syndrome, feeling like a fraud, feeling like all the stuff that I think many people will feel regardless of where they are in their career. So if they are just just at the beginning, of their translation career, or even a few years down the line, a lot of people probably feel the same. And so I think another thing is to know, for me, to learn that actually that's normal. That's many people go through the same, maybe most people go through the same thing. And so, just work on it. And
that's maybe, a lot.
Yeah. Even like look for help and reach out to people, because I think when you have imposter syndrome, you don't want to do that, but just try to get over that, and then things will start falling into place, and then you'll be, I guess, good to go. We're feeling better.
That's amazing, because everything that you're sharing and advising in that sense is very, very important for all of us, because we usually think we are alone, we are working alone, and it only happens to us feeling overwhelmed or whatever, and moving on and going on and getting through. It's very inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah, I loved everything you shared, and I really like those learning moments, and I think it's going to inspire a lot of people listening to our podcast. So
I hope
thank you so much, Martina.
I hope going through my suffering helps someone else. No, I think everyone goes through those things, but I think figuring out that it's not just you, it hopefully helps.
Yeah. Totally.
Yes, exactly. And not only watching, the successful moment of someone else, because that person has had to climb many rocks to be there,
has had their failures,
their moments. So that's also, it's important for us to be aware of the possibility that we all have problems, that we all have bad times, and then some good times that may come,
and that we don't all have it all figured out, right?
Yeah. That's such an important thing for me, because sometimes even with my own, like with my teams, I'm like, I feel guilty almost, because I'm like, oh, I should be like, I should have everything figured out, but then then I don't, and I shouldn't. This is where we are at, and everyone is happy. For me, that's the most important thing, is that everyone, as long as everyone is respectfully and like, you make them part of the team, and you actually are honest and communicate with them, then there's really no reason to feel like that. But it's still hard to like do that.
Yeah, it is hard.
Feel like that.
Yeah.
Of course. Oh, it's been a wonderful interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it a lot, and thank you a lot for being here and sharing your experience and doing all that great work and so much sports. I admire you.
Yes, keep up the great work, Martina.
Yes. Thank you for having me here. It's been awesome to chat with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot. Y ahora con ustedes, el momento catártico del programa.
Los invitamos a escuchar al traductor karaoke.
I'm going to take a deep breath, find a possible way to meet my client's request. This deadline is death to me. I've gotta find a pal to help me with all this. Take this bit, please. Will you share it with me, please? 'Cause darling, without you, all the power of the greatest cat tool, all the sweat I will pour through the keyboard will never be enough, never be enough. Buckets of coffee are still too little. These hands can type like that, but it'll never be enough, never be enough. For it's never, 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 never for these, never enough, never enough, never enough. No, I can't. Please, for me, no, too much. Este fue un nuevo episodio de En Pantuflas, patrocinado por nuestro amigo fiel, MemoQ. Si sos tan fan de MemoQ como nosotras, aprovecha el 45% de descuento exclusivo para podcast escuchas. Anota este código, CAM-pantuflas45. Podés encontrar todos los episodios del podcast en nuestra página en _pantuflas.com y suscribirte para escucharlos apenas salen en iTunes, Spotify y Google Podcast. Prohibí su reproducción en la Argentina, en Los Ángeles, Buenos Aires, Pantuflas al virus.